Hi, and welcome back to my channel. This is John coming to you with another action figure review. And I thought today that I would do one of my recent AFA graded figures that just came back about a month ago. This is the 6-inch Black Series version of the clone Captain Rex, who is a very popular character for any of you Star Wars fans. Fans of the Clone Wars, fans of the expanded universe. You'll know this character well. I didn't know much about him, to be honest, but he was included in a wave that came out recently in 2018, and I love the way he looked. So I added him to the latest shipment that I sent off to the AFA for grading. And so he came back about a month ago, along with about 15 other figures. And as a side note, I bought him on the toy website, Big Bad Toy Store, which many of you probably know. Big Bad Toy Store offers pre-orders for any Black Series figures, and you can order them either as the regular edition, or they have a collector upgrade that costs about $2 extra, but they sort through all the cases that they receive from Hasbro and only select the ones that have really nice boxes with no scratches and no damage to the box just from shipping. And you only pay $2 more for it, and they're typically about $24, the typical retail price for a 6-inch Black Series. So you pay $2 extra, and it ships in a separate cardboard box for each figure, along with a poly bag. So it's a great way to get grade quality figures for just a little bit less, and you don't have to guess by going on eBay and guess on the condition of some of these. So this was one of those figures that was in my latest purchase from Big Bad Toy Store, and it came back with just a fantastic grade. And I'll try to show it. I have the classic style grading, but as you can see, it got a 9.5, which is a very, very high score, even for modern figures. It's 2018 Hasbro Star Wars Black Series 6-inch clone Captain Rex, and it came back with a 9.5, which is a very, very high score. I haven't actually seen any 9.5 graded Captain Rexes for sale on eBay. That's how high this is. Everything has been either a 9 or a 9.25 or below a 9, 8.5s. So this is very, very close to gem mint. And, my total grading cost was about $30, and the purchase of the figure itself was, about $26. And I'll go into more detail on what the current market looks like for these figures. A lot of you guys don't care about the resale values or things like that. The only reason I include it is because I like to show that there is a way to create value by getting new figures that are in great condition like this and getting them graded, because in general, graded figures do tend to come back with higher resale values, just given their pristine nature. So anyway, Captain Rex, for those of you who are fans of the expanded universe and the Clone Wars TV series, the Clone Wars movies, I pulled up just some information about Captain Rex from Wookiepedia, which I'm sure a lot of you know is basically the Wikipedia for the Star Wars universe. But I thought it'd be important to include some information about the figure and the character himself. His designation number within the Clone Trooper Army was CT-7567. And, like I said, he's one of the main, if not the main character of the animated Clone Wars 2008 film. And then obviously the TV series of the same name. He's a very popular character. He was obviously cloned from the bounty hunter Jango Fett with, his distinguishing feature, as you can see, is his blonde hair, which is different than the typical brown or black-haired troopers that are clones of Jango Fett. And he was under the command of Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, and he also appeared in the 2014 Star Wars Rebels television series, and the associated comics and novels, and I think he was also in one of the video games, if I remember right. But basically, he's an important character from the expanded universe. What sets him apart from maybe, obviously he's a captain, but what sets him apart appearance-wise, aesthetically, is his blue trim work around, his shoulder pads and his skirt. And then his helmet is also known for having hawkeyes around the edges. So you can see that. And I'll zoom in just a little bit here so you can see the helmet and some of the detail on the figure. Like I said, this just came back from AFA, and so I haven't even had a chance to take it out of the AFA poly bag yet. So I'm going to do that here shortly, just so we can get a clearer picture of what the figure looks like. But he's just one of the better figures in the recent releases of the 6-inch Black Series figures. And so he was basically developed as the central personality for all the clone trippers to aspire to. So he's just one of the good guys, essentially. And he's definitely one of the fan favorites. And he consistently places atop of the polls. Oops, sorry about the camera knock there. He consistently places atop the fan polls when people talk about favorite characters from the expanded universe, especially. And this is not the first iteration of the Captain Rex action figure. There has been a number of figures, most of them in the 3.75-inch scale. I pulled these, and I'll put a link to all this information below. I'll put a link to his Wookiepedia page, and I'll also put a link to the summary that shows all of the different versions of Captain Rex in action figure form, just for those that are interested. Some of you may not care about it, but I care. I care. So that means that I care about you, because I'm going to share all of that information for you, to you. All right. So anyway, to summarize some of his other iterations as an action figure, there was a Clone Wars 2008 version that was very much in the cartoon style, with a bald head, a baldish head, and more animated features rather than the realistic look that you see here. There was also a 2010 version in cold assault gear, so kind of an Arctic version of Captain Rex. There was also one called the Hunt for Grievous in 2011 that was also a 3.75 scale. And there was another one with a propulsion pack. Just, all these are variations on the character. But that one also came out in 2011. There was a missile firing version in 2012. There was another version that was very similar to past iterations in 2013. Another Clone Wars version that had dual pistols in 2014. The first 6-inch figure, at least according to the resources I found online, was that there was a Clone Wars 2015 6-inch version that is, a very similar mold to this, but just slight differences in the skirt and in the mold of the actual figure. And let's see. There was also, I remember, a HasCon, which is like the Hasbro convention exclusive that I think is basically the same figure as this. That one came out in 2017, and then finally this year they released the 6-inch retail version of that. And those are the only two 6-inch figures that I know of for Captain Rex thus far. So in terms of prices that you can expect to pay for him, eBay sales for non-gridded loose figures, so not in the package, they're basically, interestingly, they're basically the same price as if you bought it still in the packaging. So keep that in mind, is that, for those of you who are loose collectors that you don't really care about the packaging, you can spend about the same amount and still have the box with it. So even if you plan on taking them out, if you want the box and you want some of the artwork that's found on the back, you're paying about the same amount. And that's usually anywhere from $20 to $25 for an ungraded. And if it's in really good shape, ungraded, maybe $30 that's still in the box. I also looked up, just for comparison purposes, I looked up on eBay sales of graded, AFA graded figures like this. And there hasn't been that many, but they've all ranged in the $150 to the $170 range. There are a couple for sale right now listed as low as $110, but most of them are falling between $110 and $170. For a graded figure that has at least a 9.0. This is a 9.5. There have not been any sales recently of 9.5 graded figures. And, again, this is something that you may not care about, but typically the price point from a 9.0 graded figure to a 9.5 graded figure is pretty substantial. And that's true also for vintage figures, not just modern. But to go from like an 8.5 or an 85 grade vintage figure to go to a 90, it's almost double the cost for a lot of figures. That's a generalization, but And the same can be said for 9.5 graded modern figures like this versus a 9.0. From what I've seen for other characters, you can get a 9.0 graded 6-inch Black Series Star Wars figure for about $100, more or less, for a buy it now price. You might get some good deals on an auction, but and then to go to a 9.5 figure, you're paying about twice that, or usually 3 times that. Most of the 9.5 graded figures that I've seen have fallen usually around $300 and above, which is crazy to think about that, just to go from a 9.0 to a 9.5. But at 9.5, you're basically almost a gem mint, or you are a gem mint figure versus a 9.0, which is a near mint plus figure. So there's people out there, crazy people out there that'll pay it. And, all in for me, this cost me about $50 to $55 to get it graded and to purchase the figure total. And, it's kind of reassuring to know that I could sell this easily $250, as high as maybe $300 with patience on eBay. Not that I'm ever going to sell it, but, collecting is not about making money, in my opinion. It's not about the resale potential or the appreciation, but a lot of people want to know that information, so I try to share that as much as I can. The HasCon exclusive figure that I mentioned that is very similar to this, but comes in a much more elaborate box that slides open and has a lot more detail to the box and packaging. That one sells for $35 to $70 ungraded, and I have not seen any graded figures, but if I had to throw a round number out, you're probably talking at least $300 for a 9.0 graded HasCon exclusive version of this. So it's a pretty substantial markup, even though, in my opinion, I think the figures are probably pretty close to the same, if not the same. There might be some slight variation to the utility belt or even to some of the armor pieces, but for all intents and purposes, it's probably the same figure. So you're paying a lot more for the HasCon exclusives only because they were numbered in terms of how many they made. So, and that generally holds true across pretty much every franchise toy line that I've seen anyway. Again, I only collect Star Wars and G.I. Joes, but usually if you got the same figure that's in a retail packaging such as this versus a convention exclusive, a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, some other kind of convention exclusive, JoeCon exclusive, those are going to go for more just because they are the packaging and how they are presented are actually limited in number, and they usually sell out at the conventions. So again, here's another close-up of the packaging and what it says there. It says he served in the Republic during the Clone Wars. After taking orders from Anakin Skywalker and Tano, he viewed military service as an honor, and so he's kind of like a goody two-shoes type guy. And you can see that this packaging has the Spanish and the French, and I don't know. We got Spanish. I don't know. I can't decide which language that is, but you get the idea. And the same with the warning labels and so forth. It's tri-logoed, if you will. So he is number 59 in the Black Series. And, you can see the kind of packaging on each side there. I have not taken him out of the package yet, so I thought now would be a good time to do so, assuming I can do this in a reasonable time frame, just to give you guys a little close-up of it. And I'm going to go ahead and pause this real quick and take him out of the packaging just because he's really sealed on there. Okay, I'm back, and I did go ahead and take the poly bag off of the AFA graded Captain Rex, just for informational purposes. For those of you who have not graded figures before, they always return them, not only in the case, but then in a poly bag around the case. And I usually don't take them out of the poly bags just because I'm too lazy. But I think for each time I review something that I've had graded, I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the poly bag so you can see it. And you would not believe my drawer full of poly bags. My wife saw it the other day, and she had no idea what was going on. But that's a different story. But anyway, now you can see him in a lot better clarity. He just looks beautiful in this case. And like I mentioned, he came back at a 9.5, which is, a gem mint grade and very, very difficult to do. And a little backstory, I sent out, I think it was like 13 or 15 different Black Series figures, which at some point I will review individually. But of the 13, or let's say it was 13, I can't remember the exact number, but of the ones I sent off, I got 5 of them back that had 9.5 grades, which is just unbelievable, and I was very happy with that. The rest of them all got 9s or above, so I did not have anything fall below a 9, which is kind of usually my cutoff for keeping a figure versus reselling it on eBay. But every one of them came back at 9 or above. I think I had 5 9.5s, 1 9.25, and then the rest were 9s. So very good scores overall, and well worth the grading costs for those figures. I feel like I added a lot of value to these figures, and again, not to get on my soapbox, but I'm going to get on my soapbox. I don't collect figures to make money. I do collect multiples of certain figures that I think are popular, and then get those all graded and then resell them, because there is demand for the graded figures, and you can usually charge a premium and make a little bit of money to help pay for my crazy hobby. So that is something that I do on the side as kind of a fun side project. So I try to pick the most popular characters, though. I don't just do any character. I try to pick ones. I wish I had gotten about 5 of these and gotten them all graded. And if they all came back at 9.5, I would be sitting pretty right now and clearing a lot of money to help pay for some of my other grading costs of my personal collection. But nevertheless, I digress. He's just an awesome figure. I love that helmet. There's just so much detail that went into that helmet, and it stayed true to what you saw on the Clone Wars TV series. And having the decoration there is just unbelievable. Just trying to get a couple of angles here. He's got the dual pistols as well as holsters for those pistols on his utility belt. I love the cloth skirt. I just feel like that Hasbro went above and beyond the typical Black Series figure with this one, and I think they did that on purpose. They know that this guy's popular, and they know that fans did not want a half-assed job, and they delivered on it, in my opinion. I mean, it's just a beautiful figure, and it's definitely one of my favorite Black Series figures that I have. And the fact that I was able to get it picked out, graded myself, and come back with such a high grade, that there's a lot of pride there. And I know a lot of you guys are going to make fun of that, but to me, to be able to get a figure graded versus paying for a figure already graded on eBay and paying that premium, $50 or $60 in grading costs versus paying $300 for one of these already graded, to me, that's a pretty awesome home run. So anyway, I keep digressing, but I wanted to at least show you guys a nice figure review. I'm kind of stuck at the house today. I got some bad back spasms, so I'm going to try and knock out a couple more videos if I can today. But this is the 6-inch Black Series 2018 Hasbro Clone Captain Rex. If you guys have any questions or comments about the figure, don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below. And thanks again for watching.